Welcome to Life Mastery Radio with Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey, the show that dives into the science of higher consciousness with inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. Join Todd, Jackie, and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. It's all right here with stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Now, here's your hosts, Todd and Jackie.
Be a group day. But now, the minute I open my eyes, it automatically clicks in my brain. It's going to be a groovy day, and I take off, and guess what? 99.9% of the time, it's a groovy day. Something might happen, something might change, but I always just think back. And guess what? It turns out to be groovy. Welcome to Life Mastery Radio, the talk show that brings you great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. And we have a really special guest today who's been on her own journey and has a great message for us. But first, as always, I have my co-host with me today, riding shotgun. I've said that before, and I don't think you're really riding shotgun, but it's a metaphor. Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
How are things at the Speak, Feed, Lead projects? You got some really cool things coming up. So I gotta ask, did you create Speaksgiving?
I did. What do you think about that? Speaksgiving.
I think it's pretty cool. The day, I'll let you explain it, but the day after Thanksgiving, open it up, have a summit. Is it a summit? It's a summit. And
it's not really a summit. There's no assigned speakers. It is a 4-hour live streaming event on Facebook and YouTube. Within that 4-hour period of time, anyone who's given even just a small donation of $1 to our nonprofit, the Speak, Feed, Lead project, they can have stage time. They can come on, tell a couple jokes, give a speech to the world. They can have a conversation with me or someone else in the room, the Zoom room, whatever the case might be. It's a time where we want to show our gratitude for our voice, the ability we have to speak out and to share our messages with the world. So we're calling it Speaksgiving. And the other side of that is by giving to the nonprofit, you're also allowing other people to speak out. So it's gratitude, Speaksgiving, but it's also give to allow others to speak. So that's Speaksgiving as well.
And it's kind of a cool thing for your students too, because you have students now that you've taught to develop keynote speeches. They've spoken on the world stage. They've honed and polished, and you know what it's like polishing a speech. You always want a place or a venue to deliver it. So this is a pretty cool thing.
And it's perfect because they're out of school on the day after Thanksgiving anyhow. So there's no schedules to worry about. And so it's just an open time for them to come and share a few words. And I envision in this Zoom room having all these videos on that's going to be a very clear illustration and metaphor of how many people support voices of children around the world.
Our guest today is a big advocate for.
Wow, that is so cool.
You know what?
Send me a link. Wow, how old are the kids?
They're 10 and up.
No way, that is so wonderful.
Well, maybe you should tell us a little bit about the Speak, Feed, Lead project, because I have a feeling this is going to light our guest up even more.
Well, many of our regular watchers know that I come from a childhood of being silenced, and I was told not to tell about the abuse I was enduring. And with that silencing, it changes who you are, and it keeps you from feeling the courage to speak out. And as I began to heal from my abuse, I found that my voice was such a tremendous part of my ability to heal. Every time I spoke out about my story, I healed a little bit more. And not only did I do that, but I inspired someone else to begin their healing process. And so our voice, I found, is truly our superpower. and we can use it for so much good. So I began a nonprofit 3 years ago that is to help children, teenagers, and adults as well to learn how to speak out with their voice, to understand what their unique message is that they could share with the world, and then give them the tools that helps them to deliver that message with power in whatever format they want to, whether it's a book, whether it's a podcast or speaking on stages, whatever it is. That's what the Speak, Feed, Lead project does, is we help kids to speak with power, to feed others in word and deed, and to lead with positive influence.
Wow.
And
Oh
it
my
is
goodness.
amazing. It's like the little chick that comes out of an egg. These kids just blossom into
Oh my
the
goodness.
chickens, right?
Oh my goodness.
It's-
Yeah.
I knew you more. Find out more, Jackie. Where can people find out more?
Oh, go to speakfeedlead.org. You can find out all about our programs and what we've got coming up. You'll see that actually it's called Giving Tuesday is coming up on November 29th. That is a grassroots effort to support nonprofits throughout the world on that one particular day. It's always the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. It's called Giving Tuesday. So in conjunction with that is Speaks Giving. So when you go to our website, you will see a link or a tab, I should say, for Giving Tuesday. If you click on that, you'll find out all the information about Speaks Giving.
That's so powerful.
Very, very cool. You go, girl. It's just amazing. I mean, it's pretty cool stuff. And you could even Google Jackie Bailey and a
I'm
whole
everywhere.
plethora of things come up that she's involved in. And if you're looking for a speaking coach, she's available to do that as well.
Yep.
I want to remind our listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.net or .com. Either one, you can go there and find any links that we may share with you about our guests, so you don't have to worry about writing them down. While you're there, sign up for the newsletter. Jackie creates a newsletter every week, and it highlights who's been on the show, who's coming on the show, and of course, a blog post about the show we just did. There are blog posts. There's a plethora. Plethora is the word of the day today.
That's a good word. I like that.
Of blog posts at www.lifemasteryradio.net or .com. While you're there, you'll see a link to my book, 6 Keys to Life Mastery. Jackie's book link is there. They're both on Amazon, Self-Centered Leadership. And you can see a couple more books in the background back there. She's been a contributing author to many, many books. So many, I guess a couple.
Yeah, I'm working on another one right now, however. It's going to be
So-
called Developed from Darkness. It's a compilation book. So I'm looking forward
Wow.
to that. Yeah.
You just amazing. I thought I was a busy dude, but you're a busy chick. Okay. You ready for our amazing guest? We have a really cool person on today. We missed her a couple of months ago, but I was so dedicated to getting her back on the show, and we had a guest cancel, and here she is. Ready? Are you ready, Jackie?
I'm so ready.
Are you already clicking with this guest? You haven't even met her yet.
I know.
Our guest today is Eliana Gilad. Did I say that right, Eliana?
Sound like an
Perfect.
Eden.
She is a 2-time TEDx presenter, motivational speaker, healing voice mentor, therapeutic singing trainer, composer, performer, and founder of Voices of Eden, Ancient Wisdom and Healing Music Institute. Born in the United States, Eliana left for France in 1991 and then moved to Israel in 1994, where she held herself at peace despite bombings during these 3 Middle East wars, using healing, empowering techniques that she now teaches. Her new international bestseller, Emerge Triumphant, Thrive Through Uncertainty, helps readers understand that when they give their inner voice the ability and power to shine, how's that, Jackie?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. Limiting barriers can be broken and people can become their own leaders, opening themselves to a world of new possibilities. Eliana, welcome to Life Mastery Radio. How are you?
Thank you so much, Todd, for that beautiful introduction, and Jackie for that beautiful pre-introduction that just links the entire subject, doesn't
Oh,
it?
I
So
know.
great.
I know. When I was
That's
reviewing,
so perfect. Now I get it. Now I get why whenever that was that we originally were supposed to meet didn't happen.
ah,
things happen for a reason. You know that as well as I do.
Everything in its own time. Yep.
So give us a little bit of backstory. You have amazing stories. I listened to some podcasts that you did, and I'm really compelled. I really want to hear the story of this, of you singing on the train, because my mother did that. My mother
No
did.
way. Are you serious?
Gosh.
Well, actually, when Jackie was speaking, it made me, I was thinking of that too, because when I was preparing for the first TED Talk, and I was telling the train story, which, I'm a former CBS broadcaster, amongst other things, but I left, I left broadcasting. I left the US in 1991 for France, and listening as a kid. I'm kind of wanting to bridge this too.
Go for it.
So as I remember hearing a child psychologist, I was in my 20s, looking great on the outside, feeling like you know what on the inside. Sitting in traffic for my corporate job, hearing this child and going, what is this what life is about? Looks great, but it doesn't feel great. And the discussion they're having on the radio is about living your best life or something like that. And the only thing I remember is the child psychologist saying, when children are between 9 and 11, that's when their talents and gifts start to come out. And pay attention to them. If you really want to be a supportive parent, support your child in anything they want to do, because it may be that that's, really their gift. And I came out of the womb very vocal. I mean, I had a big voice from the beginning. And I grew up in the children are seen but not heard.
Yeah.
All right. Like many of, but I thought I was the only one. There's like in the family, and there was even out of the family and the rest of the world, and they were just like two different systems. And so fast forward, I'm preparing for this TED Talk. I'm living in Israel at that point, and I speak about how that experience of leaving CBS, listening to my voice, daring to follow the inner guidance, especially when it didn't make sense, because it said, go sing on a train. And I had been in a period where I was ready to do or die, to not live this, you have to work for a living, you have to toil, like to get ahead and to work really hard and suffer. That's what makes a good person. And at that point, well, no. And I'm willing to die. And if the bell rings inside, I'll say yes to work. And if it doesn't, then I won't. And I said no enough times that I ran out of money. And I had a monthly Metro card, so I could ride the metros. And I heard about I'm getting off point here.
You're headed in the direction of the train.
But it was about children and their truth. And So the short part of that story is I go to this meeting and I hadn't eaten for 2 days, and I sang this Hebrew spiritual from my childhood, because from the metro to the meeting place, I remembered that everybody's supposed to bring something, and I didn't have anything to share. I thought I was going to sit in the corner and just imbibe some inspiration or something, but there was this big circle. There was no corner to hide in, and it got to my turn, and I sang this song, just on the spur of the moment, and this guy came up to me afterwards. He goes, your voice speaks. Because at the end I shared that I hadn't eaten for 2 days, and I'm not a victim case. I'm just like on this do or die mission. Ever since I was a little girl, I know that each one of us has a voice and something important to share. And since 6 years old, I can remember myself asking, and at that point I was in my early mid-30s. It's like, I have to know. Am I full of caca? If I am, I won't ask anymore, and I'll go back to the States. That's been the thing. And if there is, then I need to know. I'm willing to die because I can't do this anymore. And he goes, your voice speaks, and you have work to do with your voice. And he puts his hand in his pocket. He takes out this crumpled piece of paper, and on it he writes 2 train stations. And he goes, tomorrow morning, you go to the train station, you get on that train, and you sing that song. The people need that. And I'm like, the man's loony. I'm not going to work for a living. I'm certainly not going to get on a train and busk. And I went home shaking in my boots, not knowing whether I'd have the courage to do it in the morning, because the bell rang inside. There was this other voice going, oh, Miss Spiritual, Miss Courageous. It's like you're willing to not eat, like whip yourself into enlightenment, whip it. But what happens when the bell rings? But it's not what you think it's going to be. And I was just, my biggest fear of being humiliated in public. It's like, oh, what do they think back in LA?
Was that the first time that you had sung in public?
No, as a child, I had sung, but actually, that was the thing. I was born with a big voice, and I remember dancing up and down the street, doing grapevines and singing, and my parents going, stop that, good girls don't sing, and so I learned to shut up my voice. And the thing that I'm doing this way, this long around story, even today as I'm doing these podcasts, it takes me a while to get it out, so I ended up singing, and I didn't busk. When it came time, they're waiting for the busking. I'm like, so help me God, either answer me now or I'll die on the spot, but I'm not here to busk. And that's what I said to the people. If I'm here to do something, to ask something, it's that you do something kind for yourself, and you really, show up for yourself, listen to yourself, do something kind.
Clarify really quick though, busing, is that what you were saying?
Busking.
B-U-S-K, which is what
that means money.
Money, it means money. But I had no pockets. I had brought no hat. I wasn't there to busk. And so I found myself walking up and down the aisle and establishing eye contact with each person there, which is not an acceptable thing to do in France. It's like, it's before the days of everybody's faces in their phone. It's like, people are to themselves with a book or a newspaper, and they pushed, I go, have a nice day. They pushed money into my hands. I had this long dress on, and I made this pocket out of it, and I walked out of there. And for the first time in my life, I knew that that my voice made a difference. Even beyond, I tell the story of CBS. That was in one take also, but broadcasting for 60 million people on CBS, the Olympics, it's a very sexy, impressive story. And, anybody's impressed. But that train impressed me. Nobody else had to say anything. Okay, so fast forward, that's 1992. Fast forward to 2012, where I'm preparing my first TED Talk. And I'm speaking about this train story. And I did that for an entire year, every day, 12 trains a day. And I say it rid me. It wasn't about the music. It wasn't about the voice. It was about daring to connect with my inner voice and connect to it, hear it, have the courage to follow its guidance, which then gave me the confidence to show up. And it was more about letting go of all the, are you nuts? And everything that came up in its wake. And the music was just the tool. That was not the point. And I said, so it rid me of my fear of public speaking, and it healed me of the extreme humiliation and shame that I would feel having my mouth washed out with soap by my dad for speaking and expressing my truth. And I wrote that, and I remember sending it to my assistant. I was so scared. And I go, I don't know, I'm going to take that out. And she goes, oh no, you can't. You obviously never been in a British boarding school. It's like everybody. I'm like, really? I had no idea. To the point of, so I travel from Israel through, I don't know, this long flight, get to Denver to my host's house, and I'm practicing the speech before them. And at this point, I'm still now maybe I'm gonna take that piece out. I'm just it was like breaking this taboo. It was terrifying. And I get to that point and I finish and I want to die. And I go, I don't know, maybe I'm going to take that out. And the two of them, they're going, which one was it for you? Lux soap or no? For me, it was ivory. I'm taking out. They go, no, that's the best part. You can't do that. So that made me keep it in. Then I get to my TED Talk, that first one. And my worst fear is being humiliated in public, because I get humiliated a lot as a kid in public. And it happened. I blacked out. I literally blacked out. The height of my career, it's live. You can't go, excuse me, can we start again? No, it's live. And I totally black out. And I'm starting, the freak out is starting to come. And then their voice goes, well, sweetheart, now would be a really good time to practice what you teach, right? And I'm oh, right. And so I practice these tools. And it's your worst fears can become the greatest gift, because now I have this great story that I get to tell. And that was in 2012. And I even, all these years, and if you go watch my first TED Talk, it's called Your Voice, Make It Heard. And if you can find where I blacked out, I'll give you a prize. And that was December 2012. Here we are, almost December 2022, 10 years later. I haven't given a prize yet. So if you want to go watch it, send me DM me, send me an email or something. And if you know where it is, I will give you a prize.
I know that feeling because it happened to me, but I ended up walking off stage in disgrace. I totally lost my place, blacked out. The fear came on. I couldn't find my place. And I think I said the S word every hour for the next 2 weeks. It was just bad. But it gave me a humbling.
It's so, yeah. And yesterday I had a conversation with one of our therapeutic singing certificates, and she was I remember, I don't know, a year, 2 years ago, it was during the pandemic, where she, this woman was reaching out to me. I had a 30-day something on my Facebook, how do you I don't know what it was.
Balance-
It was
balance
really, no, I did it for the whole, it was very spontaneous and I was really enjoying it. Like I was very motivated. And I see this woman would show up every day, but then she was very shy. Um, and a scant year, 2 years later, yesterday, she's like, oh my God, I can't like keep my voice in. I just got to get it out. And I'm like narrating and I'm on like 3 agent sites, and she recorded an album and she has another 10 songs in the making, and all these producer friends she has going, we never knew you sang. I go, what is so what about the therapeutic singing? What made the difference? She said, the experience with these tools of learning that when I disconnect, that I have a way to reconnect. Because I was so terrified before that I'd just disappear and die. And that that just happened like not even 24 hours ago. And even now that I'm saying it, I'm getting inspired by it. Like I just told the story of me with the TED Talk, and I'm getting this, woo. It's like, it's so important. I mean, how many times, and especially in our world today, it's the whole reason I'm doing this podcast tour for the launch of this book, is that when I sang on the trains, I realized what my role was, and that part of it was to use media for constructive purposes. It's like when I moved from France to Israel, I didn't work for CBS in Israel, because if I was going to work for CBS in Israel, then my voice was going to be used, just another voice of war, another voice of reaction, of eye for eye. And that's what commercial media is selling. And I'm not judging it. There's room for everything. Everything's connected. But I know the value of my voice, and I'm not going to, I don't care how sexy it sounds or how, on the outside, because that's whoring yourself. I already, I left my prostitution behind 30 something years ago, looking great on the outside and feeling like, what, on the inside, the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde existence, and so many, so many live that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and that imposter syndrome, because what gets communicated, what we see in social media and what we see in commercial media, it's an image, I come from the.
So I'm really curious, Eliana, did you ever meet that gentleman again?
Oh, the one from the train?
No, the gentleman that told you to go to the train station.
Oh, that's an amazing question. No, you know what? I actually did. He moved to Israel. I met him I don't know what happened to him, because then he didn't stay. Maybe he went back to France. But I thought, he showed up somewhere in Israel, No, I thought maybe in the book, I think I have this in the book, maybe or maybe not, there was this man who, one day I'm at the train stop and I get out and people would just follow me out. Amazing things happen. And part of, using the media for constructive purposes, and this tour now with this book, is to share these stories. So, okay, God, I get it. So I could tell this story now. So I'm singing, and he was this dapper dressed, middle-aged man, very, very well dressed. And he goes, Mademoiselle, Mademoiselle. And so, I speak with him. He goes, why are you singing on the train? You don't need to sing on the train. I said, oh, mais non, si. No, j'en ai besoin. I really do need to. He goes, but you don't need to be singing on a train. I said, I'm not singing there for money. I'm not busking. I said, this is very important work. It may not make sense to you, but you know, you were there. You followed me out. There's something attracting you. He goes, yes, well, where are you from? You know, they go in France, they go, et vous êtes de quelle origine? You're from, what is your origin? It's kind of putting you in a box.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not from here. You're
Yeah.
foreign.
No. It's like Cartesian. That's the French way, you know? So Américaine. Oh, Américaine! Well, il me drague, you know, is he like picking me up? You know, sometimes, you know, I'd have to go, is this somebody picking me up, or is this something where I'm being called to be of service somehow?
Yeah.
So I'm just there kind of listening and see, no, there was something happening here. And he goes, well, have you traveled? I go, oh yeah, I traveled a lot. He goes, where? And at the moment he says that, I go, do not tell him you've been to Israel. So I say wherever, blah, blah, blah. I've traveled all around the world. I say everything, but I said, in the Middle East. He goes, where in the Middle East? I go, Israel. He goes, Israel! I hate the Jews. If there were a Jew standing in front of me, I would push them in these tracks right now.
Yikes.
Whoa. And I'm like, God, do I tell him I'm Jewish? Right. It's like there was this moment of, now I had that in my earlier years, and with where I am in my spiritual consciousness, I don't identify as a this or a that, or I'm not my religion. It's like a non-issue, and living in Israel for 20 something years with Jews, Christians, Muslims, Israeli, Palestinian, non-issue. It's like everybody's different. But here, this is coming, I'm like, you know, and my stomach is like, so I just practiced the tool that, you know, one of these tools that, you know, of this ancient approach. And I go, Monsieur, I said, you can't be serious. Because I'm Jewish. And I know you're not going to push me into the tracks. And it was like a movie. I wish, you know, it was like this scene, and the train comes, like right at that moment, the train comes in and he stops. Mercy! He starts like bawling, and the train comes, the doors open, he runs in the train, and off he goes. I'm like, holy moly, what?
Wow.
That. Fast forward a few weeks, I'm at Denfert Rochereau, no, Cité Universitaire train stop, and I get on the train to do my thing, and there he is on the train speaking to this Japanese girl, and he looks about 20 years younger, and I know that whatever transpired in that moment was the switch to whatever changed, because he looked totally different. And if he was going to push a Jew into the tracks, he certainly wouldn't be sitting with a Japanese girl, right?
Yeah.
And so I do my thing, and I go, wow, it is so, I cannot tell you what a joy it is for me to see you. I say to the man, he goes, I cannot thank you enough. And then the doors close and we start going, and the man disappears in the train, but the train hasn't stopped. I've never told this story. This is the first time I'm telling this story publicly. Might think I'm weird, but this really happened to me. And that's why I'm saying, when you said, did you meet him? He reappeared later, several stops later, but he didn't, it was a express train, so there were no stops. He couldn't have gotten on and off. And I would stand in the middle of the aisleway, so I would have seen him get up. He reappears and he says, would you like to come to coffee? And I was so terrified. It was,
Bad.
I said, "Oh, thank you so much, but I have my work to do." I mean, I was so I was like in on this schwung. I mean, it was like, and then it happened once more, and I said no. Again, I saw him again, and I said no. And if there's one regret that I have in my life, it's I that I said no, because had it's like he had a secret or something to share with me that I didn't have the courage
To hear.
or the confidence to receive. I didn't have the ability to receive it at that point. It kind of, it makes me teary. I even, to the point when I moved to Israel, I went back to France and I actually went on the train like, okay, God, if I meet him on the train, I will go with him to coffee. And I've never met him again. It's the one regret that I have in my life.
Well, that is so interesting. Now, these are great stories and obviously learning moments for you. So when we go to the title of your book, which is Emerge Triumphant, with the tagline Thriving Through Uncertainty, how does that relate?
Oh,
How
I
does
mean,
what you're teaching your book relate to the story you just told?
yeah, it's interesting. I never really connected that particular story because I've never told that story on a broadcast before.
Yeah.
But, if I think back, hindsight's always 2020. That's back in 1992. Where are we now?
2022.
2022, 30 years ago. But what that did do was it taught me, it really taught me to, and it still is teaching me to say yes, especially when things don't make sense. Really, when they don't make sense. And I think that is the opportunity that we have today, and in our world that is so divisive because we humans are just coming back to learn how to honor, and own our power. And we're so habituated to give it away.
Or be submissive.
Yeah. And the submissiveness is, I'm speaking from I know this isn't 30-second soundbite things, but that's intentionally why I'm on this tour, to address at a much higher level, not at the common denominator. There's enough common denominator. And I'm telling you, it's interesting that I told that story today because last weekend, I went to a sing-along, a Beatles sing-along. It was like it was heaven on earth, and it's in Hollywood. Hollywood, fame, fortune, it's like the best of the best musicians, but there was such humility there because people are wanting really to meet, and the music itself is the uniter.
Binder. Yeah.
And then on the way home, I love Saturday Night Live. That show is like, I threw away my television set 32 years ago. So I don't watch television. I don't own a television. I wouldn't admit that 32 years ago because I was, afraid they would like send me to the loony bin. Even when I was a broadcaster for CBS. And that's Thrive Through Uncertainty, and Emerge Triumphant is in those moments where you're going to die, is to these tools are a means by which you can connect to the source of your power. And our voice, I see, is a bridge between our inner truth and our outer expression, and that determines what happens afterwards. And we're so drugged and habituated by the belief that, or the submission, or believing if I only do A, B, C, D, I'm perfect enough, do the right things, get along, look good, then but that's already coming from a set point of I'm not enough. And that's just not true.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's SNL. I'm coming back from this Beatle thing, and I'm like, oh my God, SNL. I wonder if I could get something live. I don't have a TV, but on YouTube, sometimes they
Yeah.
have something. And I see they had uploaded the monologue of the person who was leading, and this person, I was astounded. I ended up turning it off because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was all this anti-Semitic stuff from a beautiful Black person.
Hmm.
And the fame and stature and position that when we have that, I believe that that's an opportunity that we have, that media
Unite.
is used for a highest good, and especially if, not especially, because we're all different, but in our days of political correctness and the this and the that and the, I don't know, I've never it's like, well, I see the differences, but on the other hand, there are no two humans that are alike. There are no two voices that are alike. The only thing that we really have in common is where we come from and where we go back to. And it's a choice of focus. And that this person was choosing to focus, he was responding to some other, news du jour sensation of some, famous person. Really? That's what we're choosing to focus, and the energy just went way down, and I just felt so icky. And I just know that I don't have control over what happens, but I certainly have control over how do I respond. And so I turned it off because I felt violated. And then it took me a little while, recentered myself, and then the next day my personality, I did look to see, like, I was really taken off guard. And then there were all of these, the responses and things that people
Comments.
do, comments on social networks and stuff. And I spent like 5 minutes saying, I'm not gonna, like, next, like, why am I putting my energy here? But the last one in that 5 minutes was somebody who said, well, I think it was really funny, and I don't even know if the Holocaust existed. And so for that one, I decided I would respond, and I wrote and here's the thing, it's about your voice makes a difference in how you choose to show up. And I really checked with myself, because I don't want to be another voice. It's what happened, when the Intifada and the wars in Israel. How can you live through 3 wars with bombs dropping in peace? You said in my bio, she stands in peace. Well, because when the shit hits the fan, pardon my French, it's like, we don't have control over that, but I have total control over how I respond, and that is my responsibility.
And usually that's another superpower.
Yeah, and we all have it. We all have it. That is our nature. So I chose, okay, if I don't say something here, well, then I'm being irresponsible, and I don't want to change any, it's a free country. You can think whatever he wants. None of my business what he thinks. It's my business how I show up. And so I responded, I said, thank you so much for this opportunity, for me to chime in to the conversation. But, I wasn't fortunate to know many of my family because they perished in the gas chambers of Auschwitz. And, I'm saddened by, I love SNL so much, and I felt so icky that I turned it off, and I feel so saddened because what I so appreciate about comedy in that institution is, it like makes light of our human foibles, because we're all just ridiculous as human beings, and something like a Holocaust, and someone who, can lead something like that is just an ill person and sick and hurt people. I've forgiven Hitler. Okay, guys, that doesn't mean if you're going to say she forgives Hitler.
Still doesn't mean that you agree with it.
I don't agree, and I don't condone what happened. My God, I lost my family in the gas chambers. But if I'm sitting there generations later, I'm contributing to the problem in my own way.
Right.
By not saying something, right?
Yeah, anger creates this poisonous
meaning
environment in your body.
It's and what a beautiful opportunity we have in these days, and that we're here in this, that we have internet, that we have podcasts, that we have means of media, an honor to you, Todd, an honor to you, Jackie, and an honor to every person who's listening to this today, another day, a year from now, whenever it is. Feminine, and here's the thing, here's the tie-in with Miriam and the ancient leadership, feminine leadership. It doesn't need ratings. Why do you need a rating when you know your value? Right. Why do you need likes? How about liking you? You're so wonderful. You're so amazing. Even with all of your screw ups, we've all been traumatized. We all have our dramas and traumas, every single human being alive. What if your biggest trauma ends up being your biggest gift? Mine is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the challenge of today, is that our young people are building their self-esteem on likes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Building their self-esteem on shares and comments that they get on social media, and that's
for popularity. It's the populist game.
Yeah.
Right. And because essentially like we're comparing our worst day to somebody's best day, and that's never going to bring us happiness.
That's airbrushed or a 30-second TikTok, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that either, but God, I just really honor what you're doing, Jackie. It's so important. Yeah, I mean, it is so important.
Well, thank you. And you know what I love in your book, that you talk about Miriam, who was sort of a underrated character in the story of Moses and the story of the Jews being freed from slavery. And yet you fill this entire book about how powerful she was and the important character that she was and played within our history. So can you touch a little bit about who Miriam was? And
hold on, wait, Jackie, we got to preface this with one thing.
Okay.
Miriam is in Eliana's bloodline.
Yeah. Well, I'm born Levite tribe on my mother and my father's side. So I have direct lineage of more than 5,000 years. So just in my blood, in my pores. And I don't see Miriam as a person even. And at that point, there were no Jews. They were Hebrews. Jews is like modern. I call that, I mean, for me, if we're looking, all our perspective, Judaism is, monotheism, that's like 3,000 years. But we're talking 5,000. We're talking 6,000. We're talking 7,000. And
so, is it proper to say then that the nationality is Hebrew, but the religion is Judaism? Is that the more proper?
No, there's a religion of Judaism.
Yeah.
What do you mean nationality?
Well, like people that come from Israel, are they called Hebrew or are they called Israeli?
Oh no, people who come from Israel are Israeli. And now there are Jewish Israelis, there are Christian Israelis, there are Muslim Israeli, there are Jews Israeli, and nationality is a construct of a modern geographical boundary. That's modern, I mean,
Okay, so
modern,
that's
but I
what I'm
mean,
trying to get to.
modern
You said
human history.
you said Jews are modern, so the Hebrew.
Oh, okay. So so Jew is a religion.
Right.
Christianity is a religion.
Right.
The religions that we have are, yeah, I mean, it's just so that's a whole nother show. Isn't it? No, it's just so interesting how,
Oh, fascinating.
how it is, how we look at things, and how we name things. And the cool thing about it is that what I started to say is like, she is like the feminine archetype,
Mhm.
more than a personage. And it makes total sense that you'd have those questions because, of course, for the last 2,000 years, we've been living in a mental, cognitive, intellectual, masculine worldview where, it's all white, plus minus, we've been in the duality of things. So, of course, that's how we look at things. Yet prior to that, for most of human history, we've lived according to a feminine worldview. I don't mean man, woman. I mean, Mother Earth, organically, holistically, where everything exists on a continuum at the same time, like nature, like the seasons. They're always there.
It's a lost wisdom, really, and it's
It is,
wisdom,
yeah. And this
wisdom
whole
of
body of
suffering.
work is a resurgence of that lost wisdom. It
Mm.
never got lost. It just, and her power, she's the one who prophesied Moses's birth. If it weren't for her, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I found that very interesting.
Amazing. I know. And what amazes me is that things didn't get lost. It's that the power of that leadership is to hide it in plain sight.
Mhm.
Like our tendency, like how we react to traumas and dramas, right? We like push it away, like get rid of it because we don't want it. So if it weren't powerful, it wouldn't be here, but it is.
Yeah.
And when we're ready to meet it, and it's right inside of us. And that feminine leadership, it's that, well, she knew her power. So she led from the side. She didn't have to be seen. She didn't have to be, it's me leader, the John Wayne version of leadership,
Right.
Me
Because
Moses.
of the lives that she saved, though, because of that quiet leadership.
Yeah.
She influenced and affected the lives of so many people because she quietly served in the way that she could.
Well, yeah, it's, she, and it wouldn't have been just her, but the prophetesses and, the leadership of that time, like midwives, the spiritual leadership from a feminine place. And that's what we're going through again. We're,
Mm.
we're on you could look at the immediate, we see the divisiveness and the contrasts and the bloodiness, right? When we look at a larger perspective, wow, what an exciting time. We're in the midst of a birth of something bigger than anything that's been or what is. Wow, it's so exciting. And yeah, birth is messy, it's bloody, contractions are painful. They are. They
Mhm.
are.
Yeah, they are.
We have these tools that we can use to soothe ourselves. And this book, The Emerge Triumphant, it's not a cognitive book. It's not about something. It's more like a workbook, to help you connect inside to your own inner wisdom.
That's what I was just going to ask, and I'm looking. Oh my goodness, ladies, we only have about 4 minutes left, and that the book that you wrote. So entice us a little bit. What will I get if I read that book? What are some of the things that it will guide me to? That's probably a big question, but what is the gist of it that I get when I read that book?
Yourself, your clarity, your ease,
Peace.
Getting your answers 24/7. Don't even need a Wi-Fi hookup. Better than any Google search could ever be, because it's right where you are. It's not a cognitive book. It's a piece of work that will guide you into your own inner wisdom. That's the whole point of it, so that you're going to get out of it support and tools to help you remain calm and connected in the midst of change. And when you don't know what's next, instead of, running around trying to figure things out, beating your head against the wall, getting nowhere fast, or knowing that you need to move forward and there's something that's pushing you, but the moment you go to do that, you stop yourself and you say what everybody else wants to hear, and you don't believe it, what you're saying, and you feel like you know what inside. If you're done with that and you want to go beyond, here's a little support for you.
Nice.
Very good. Well said, my friend. Oh my goodness, we just have a couple minutes left, and boy, I look at your name and I pronounce it wrong. So it's Eliana.
No,
Eliana.
Here's how you're going to remember it forever, Todd. My name, it's a Hebrew name, Eliana Gilad. Eliana means my higher power answered me. So when you call me, you're calling to yourself. It's the principle above the personality. It's not about any one of us, right? And Gilad means eternal joy.
Eliana, I will never.
That's true.
And I want to thank you for showing up as you today. And I want to extend an invite. I hope you'll come back, because there's so much more that we could talk about.
Reach out. I'm happy to. I'm happy.
Ancient cultures, ancient civilization. We didn't even get to talk about Eden, which is another one of my fascinations.
No, that's a whole. Yeah, that's a whole.
That's a whole nother show. Jackie and I are going to put you on our radar and just be an email away. That's what I know. Just an email away and maybe have you back on. Jackie, quickly, any takeaways? Was this a cool show? Cool lady? Cool topic?
Yeah, Eliana, I want to know so much more about you. So I look forward to another conversation with you. Maybe you'll join us on Speaksgiving and share a little bit more of your story there with our youth. And thank you so much for putting all of these tremendous words of wisdom down in your book. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
That's about all we have time for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. My biggest hope is that you will tell a friend about the show and tell them this really cool show with Todd and Jackie. These two friends, and they bring on some amazing guests and they talk about some amazing things, and it's an ongoing saga. Check out YouTube. There's well over 200 of our shows, great topics, and especially some great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. Lastly, please, please, please make it a great day, because you know as well as I do, it's all about choice. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to Life Mastery Radio. Join Todd Allen and Jackie Bailey and their guests of leading authors, speakers, coaches, and entrepreneurs weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific. Learn to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery through stories and messages to support your well-being and most evocative dreams. Visit their website, www.lifemasteryradio.com. Join their mailing list and be notified about upcoming guests. That's lifemasteryradio.com.